Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. It is Friday, August 28th, and it's 3 o'clock Mountain Time. It is the end of the week for those of us who are still following any kind of conventional schedule. I don't know who is these days, but it is the end of the week, and I'm definitely looking forward to no school schedules this weekend for the kids and some sleeping in time myself. So I'm pretty happy about that. And welcome to everybody to another episode of the Buddhist Biohacker. We are approaching our 100th episode. We are 2 weeks away, believe it or not, of 100 episodes since April 1st, which is just phenomenal and amazing. So thank you to everybody who's listening and watching. And for everyone who's joining in the live, you can use your chat box, whether you're on Twitter or YouTube. Use that chat box to ask questions, share your comments and stories. We love hearing from you throughout the podcast. And I'm really excited. I feel like we saved the best for last this week, honestly. I'm really excited to have our special guest with us today. And I should have asked you, I think, is it Jaitara? Is that how you say it? Is that right?
Jaitara. I'm not really attached to the pronunciation. You get the Jai right, the Tara can come out any way you want.
Awesome. Well, Jaitara, Jade, we are happy to have you here. And I think this topic is really, really important and something that's been up in a lot of my own client community, asking about sacred sexuality and what that even means. And I think it's a hot topic in our world right now as well, as we own the divine feminine. We had a wonderful conversation with Misa Hopkins yesterday about herstory versus history. So this is right in alignment. So welcome.
Thank you. I love that. There's actually a chapter in my book that says history and her story.
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. Well, I want to start out with you just sharing your story, who you are and how you came to be where you are in the present moment, and where you with the community.
Well, where I am in the present moment seems to be evolving and shifting really quickly. This COVID time for me has been a really powerful time of creation. So there's a lot of new things birthing, and so there's a lot of transformation happening. As far as sacred sexuality, I am a sacred sexuality mentor. I guess the best way to explain how I got into doing this, because it wasn't a planned occupation, it just sort of opened up for me. I'll try to give the short version of this. I have to go back in time a little bit. It was November 1999. I was living in Toronto. And one day I was standing on the subway platform, and talk about a sign from the universe. It was a physical billboard across the platform. And it said, "Teenage prostitution is child abuse." And I literally went into shock, because I was that child. And until that moment, I had never acknowledged myself as an abuse victim. So I carried that for 27 years. That was my secret that I carried inside me. I was 42 at the time. And so I don't remember the journey home. Next thing I'm looking out my bathroom window, and 27 years of suppressed pain erupted out of me. And the grief, the anger, the rage at those who took part in my exploitation. And I cried out. It was so intense. I cried out, "God, please help me." And the second I spoke those words, a bird landed on my back patio railing, and I instantly became peaceful, because spirit communicates to me through animals, because they know I'm going to look it up. So I ran and I got my Animal Speak book by Ted Andrews, and it was just there long enough to get a good look at it, and then it flew away. The bird was a grackle. The teaching of a grackle is to release emotional congestion from the past before it manifests into physical illness. You can move forward into the future. So there's no question in my mind that was a powerful message from spirit. So I literally stayed home for 2 days just to purge and allow the emotions that were coming up to express. I screamed, I cried, I collapsed, I did it again. Now, if I knew about the breath work I facilitate today, I could have done it in 2 hours instead of 2 days, but that was my journey. And at the end of those 2 days, a veil lifted, and I started to feel a self-love that I hadn't felt in 30 years. And it was no longer a secret. I literally got on the phone and called my friends. Guess what happened to me as a teenager? There was no shame around it anymore. Now, I still had more healing to do. It didn't happen that quick. There was still layers which got cleared and released on a cellular level years later through the breath work that I now facilitate. But that was the turning point for me. And it planted the seed for me to want to work with other women. Because until that point, I just saw everyone as better than me, more confident. And I was very good at hiding it. You would never know by looking at me at the surface. But now energetically, I could feel that other women that felt very confident to me on the surface, for so many, I could feel a layer of self-doubt, unworthiness beneath the surface, and I could sense that it was sexually related. So that was the very beginning of my journeys. That set me on a path, and later discovered facilitation, and here I am today. That's the short version of how I came here today. So it basically was the beginning of my spiritual journey. I had to take care of me first. So I was always very orgasmic, but I kept my spirituality over here, my sexuality over here. I didn't mix the two. And suddenly it didn't make sense to me anymore. So I literally, you've heard of Neil Donald Walsh and his conversations with God. I started having my own conversations with God in relation to my sexuality and how it merged together with who I am as a divine being having this physical experience. And I had never heard of the word Tantric before. Years later, I discovered a lot of the exploration I started doing and practicing with my breath. And I'd just been certified as a Reiki master and started playing with that. Years later, I discovered I was doing my own Tantric sexuality, Neo-Tantra practice. Mm-hmm. And what I discovered was just beautiful. And so as I stepped into my power and cleared all my wounds, and what happens once you have zero emotional triggers, the wounds transform to wisdom. The pain transcends to wisdom. So now you've got the memory. So I can share my story now without any emotional trigger, to share it with others so that they can relate. If they've had some kind of a story, now they can feel safe to come into my world, understanding that I understand and I can help them on their path as well. So that began my sacred sexuality journey. And then and how I became a breath worker of emotional healing. And I love to call the work, we dive deep, we breathe, dance, we dive deep and play hard. The healing work I do goes very deep, but I'm very playful. I love to bring you out the other side, dancing and playing and just being in sheer joy with your body. So that's about me, where I am right now, and just birthing a beautiful new platform. I recently got certified in level 1 of the Akashic Records, and I'm loving spending time with the record keepers. So the new platform I'm about to build is called Feminine Artistry. That was given to me by the record keepers. And the other day, and through coming out with my own book, I didn't have a good experience with my own indie publisher. So I figured out how to do it myself. Made my own book a bestseller, made it beautiful from the inside out. Don Miguel Ruiz graced it with a testimonial. So I thought I want to do that for others. But I thought, how do I mix publishing with sacred sexuality? People say, well, what are you, Jaitara, a publisher or a sacred sexuality mentor? So I asked the Akashic Record Keepers, how do I do this? And this was just last week. It came through very strong. They said, Feminine Artistry is not about you. It's an academy with different departments, and you already have the faculty at your fingertips. So just map it out. And I'm like, it was so powerful. So sure enough, I reached out to sister friends I know who are already experts. And I have my faculty, my beautiful goddess friend, Abnita, who's a beautiful East Indian woman in her 30s. She's also a holistic nutritionist and chef. She's going to be the chief goddess of nutrition. And I'll be the chief goddess of sacred sexuality. My beautiful sister Evelina, who does all my photography, book cover design, she's the chief goddess of creativity. My friend Catherine, who's great at administration, she's the chief goddess of administration. So suddenly, Feminine Artistry Academy is being born, and the publishing division will be an aspect of that, where I have a team doing that work for me.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
In the expression category, yeah.
Yeah, your story is so potent. Like you just started sharing, and I can feel it in all parts of my body. And there's so many different places we could go with this right now. But I
focus on the sacred sexuality now.
Yeah, well, and that's, the thing is what you're talking about with the feminine artistry is when you heal those sexual traumas and you can step into the creative force of the womb and the sacral chakra, suddenly creativity is born and the kundalini rises, and it's just so incredible. And so let's talk about this.
Yes. Well, before we come into these physical bodies, we're non-physical divine intelligence. Our father had an orgasm. Hopefully, our mother was orgasmic too, and it was a birthing through love. But either way, it was a divine plan that you be here. It was sexual energy that made it possible for you to be a spiritual, intelligent being existing inside this beautiful human orgasmic sexual body. It's created us. So therefore, sexual energy is the root of our creative force. It's like a tree. If the roots are contracted or malnourished in any way, the tree can never blossom to its full potential. If we're contracted or still holding on to wounding for whatever reason at the root of our creative force, it's going to filter on into every other area of our life. And we're holding back to protect this vulnerable aspect of ourselves. When we're holding back, period. It affects whatever we're creating in our life, in our relationships, how we're creating with our profession, with our work, with the creative energy. It filters into every area of our life. Once this is whole and healed, and even if celibacy is your choice, it needs to be made from a place of peace and contentment, not contraction and fear or protection. So it's so important to heal those wounds, come at peace. Well, the first sacred law of sexual enlightenment is the gift. Recognize what a beautiful gift of life this energy is. Whether you're activating it to create a new human life, whether you're activating it to breathe new vibrancy of life through you, or even if you're not sexually active as a solo practice or with a partner, but that energy still, it's an energy. It doesn't necessarily mean engaging in the act of sex. So once you come to peace with that, you acknowledge this as a beautiful gift from source, a beautiful gift of creation, and learn how to breathe it through you and embrace it and honor it. It's your creative energy becomes on fire.
Yes. What would you say to somebody who says they know their sexuality is shut down, they know their creative force is shut down, they know that it's like they're just no longer interested? And I was definitely, to give some context, I was definitely one of those people. And in 2005, I weighed 250 pounds and wore a lot of my husband's clothes and did readings for people as a psychic medium. And suddenly I had that moment where it was like, wait a minute, none of this is right. And I was so shut down that my cycle had stopped. So I went through this massive process that really was years and years and a lot of different work, but it was work in healing trauma and being able to step into my femininity and into those creative forces. So when somebody says, I'm shut down, I don't know where to start, what do you say to that? What are the tools and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, we always have to get to the root source of the problem. If there's a shutting down and a holding back to protect an old wound, we want to get to the very root source of that wound, where it is at very start. Because, you can have something that happened as a child, but if you're only looking at, that last unhealthy relationship I had, you're not getting to the root. So you really have to get to the root. Where is the very first time that activated this shutting down, this block, this contraction, whatever it is that caused, because anything after that is a symptom of the root cause. So when I work with people, that's what we do. We get to the root source. We find where it first started. And then the work that I do through trauma release, as well as through breath work, we clear that at the root and open it up at the root. And then we can move forward from there. I want to honor you, by the way, for your journey. Thank you for sharing that you went through that and you came out the other side on your own. Can I ask what your process was, how you shifted from that?
Yeah, I definitely went through a period of doing my own shadow work. I mean, things part of it, but with the sexuality piece in particular, funny enough, I worked in fashion for 20 years. So when I was very shut down, I had left that industry. I was, working in spirituality and suddenly realized I kind of need to heal myself. So this is back. It's been a while now, about 15 years ago. But funny thing, Chanel red lipstick is I bought a Chanel No. 5 red lipstick and I started keeping it on my bathroom counter and I put it in my purse as this reminder that I was a woman and that I had this energy. And because I'm a big fashion nerd, Chanel is definitely an influence for me and an energy that I connect with in her own power and passion and goddess energy. But that's what I did. I had this red lipstick and I started to work with the energy of that. Well, how does it feel to be connected to this energy with the fragrance and the color and just what it represented and what it represented for me? And so that was kind of the start of my journey. And a lot of it was mindfulness of the body. And I think that's a lot of probably what you can talk about with your breath work, because I'd love to hear if you want to share about that. Because a lot of it was putting my hands on my body and like, hi, I haven't been really looking at you. I didn't really see.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I love that you did that with the lipstick. I love that. It's so creative. Yeah, of course, getting to the root and then creating a new relationship with your body. I actually have, if you go to feminineartistry.com, the site's not up yet, but there's a banner saying coming soon and a place where you can opt in for some free gifts. And one of them is a journey where I guide you through a guided meditation journey to deeply connect with your body. And I can share a little bit about that now. We as women can be very hard on our bodies. We can judge our bodies. I hate my thighs. I hate my butt. I hate my belly. It's really important to recognize that your body is innocent and it's so loyal. It serves us every day. It's the temple that houses our spirit. Our heart keeps beating every moment of every day, you know, without us doing anything. Whatever we put in our belly, whether it's for our highest good or not, it works so hard to process it. You know, I used to say to my belly, oh, I hate my belly right now. It hurts. And it was actually my breathwork mentor. I said that in breathwork training years ago. And she said, don't ever talk to your belly like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right. So when we just accept our body, if you don't like the shape of your body right now, that's okay. That's natural. If you've gained a lot of weight that you're uncomfortable with, but just accept it. And if you want to shift and change it, do it from a place of love. Body, I so appreciate you. Thank you for being so loyal. I'm going to take better care of you because I love you. Versus, oh, I hate my body. I need to do something. Dr. Masaru Emoto is the first person to scientifically prove how our thoughts and feelings impact the molecular structure of water. He said words of hate, taped the words on jars, photographed the molecules, and they came out as dark, distorted formations. Then he spoke words of love and beauty to the water, taped it on the jars, photographed the same water, and they came out as beautiful crystalline snowflake formations. We are 70% water. Whatever we speak, say, and feel about our body is having a direct impact on the molecular structure of our body. So what I do during COVID, I actually gained 20 pounds and I'm 5'2". So that was pretty noticeable. I got really lazy and I was just indulging in eating French bread with goat cheese on it. And then one day I realized, oh my gosh, I'm almost 170. And for me, that's a lot. And I noticed my belly so I started talking to my belly. I'm so sorry. I've been so hard on you. I'm going to start taking better care of you and making your life easier now. So create a relationship like that with your body. You know, look at your hands. The meditation that you get on my site, I have you start looking with your hands. Imagine all the things your hands do for you. The fact that we can write, we can create, we can touch. You know, look at your hands, appreciate that, and say to your hands, I love you. Feel your arms. Your arms can hold and hug and embrace and carry things. Acknowledge that. Say to your arms, thank you, I love you. And go through every body part, touching it, feeling it, what it does for you. You know, your breasts, if you're a woman, if you're a mother, thank you so much for providing nourishment for my child. Thank you for the beautiful softness, the sensitivity that feels so good to touch. Thank you. I love you. Go through every part of your body in that way, appreciating your body, looking at it, touching it, no matter what shape it's in right now. Giving it love, the same way that you would give love if your body's unhealthy. Imagine your body like an innocent child. You wouldn't look at an innocent, unhealthy child who has an obesity problem and point a finger of blame at the child. You would embrace that child and love them and help them to heal and become more whole and to become a higher version of themselves. So treat your body like that.
I love that so much.
It's,
That's actually,
I gained the 20 pounds because I chose to put the stuff I did in my mouth. It's not my body's fault. My body's working so hard to keep up. I'm happy to say I've lost 17 of those 20 now. I'm back down again.
Oh, that's good. That's so
I
good.
just call it starch and sugar. That's it. I'm a sugar addict. Recognize that I am a sugar addict, so I'd be really careful there.
Yeah, I'm the same exact way, and I love what you're talking about. Actually, I wrote a book that's over here, I think, and one of the practices in there is mindfulness of the body, and very similar. It's like if you don't have a relationship with your body, or you have a relationship with your body that's toxic, I always think it's like, treat it like you would your boyfriend, right? Like,
I love that too. Yeah.
You wouldn't, beat up your boyfriend or tell him he's ugly or any of those things. And so I love what you're saying. I really relate to that, because it's such a part of my own healing, is that connection and relationship with my body.
Yes. And for women, I'm a dancer. So no matter what aspect of my work people come into, you can be guaranteed there's going to be dance. Dance for women is meditation, because the feminine is about flow and movement. If you look at an ocean, the shores and the rocks would be the container, that what's holding space for it. That's the masculine energy of it. The water, the movement and the flowing, that's the feminine. So I love doing the still meditation in the morning. I love just sitting still, connecting with my breath, being in stillness, listening for the birds. But then the movement, the dance and the movement, that's the feminine. When I hold women's circles, the first thing I do before we get in a circle and start chatting and sharing, because they've been in traffic, driving, all things going on in their head during the day, I have a stand in a circle, hold hands, just take a moment to look at each one another's faces. Then I crank up the music and we just dance for 3 songs.
Oh, I love that.
Dance right off the top, get in your body. It opens their hearts. They become playful. We feel connected to spirit when we dance. So dance for me, I really attribute dance a lot. I'm 64 now. I contributed a lot to maintaining my youthfulness, my joy, my happiness, to enjoying being in my body. Dance for me is huge.
Well, and don't you feel it? It's that energy. It's that Kundalini.
Yes.
We were just talking about this, how do you feel about, especially you're connecting with the Akashic records, like how do you feel about, do you tend to pull in information when you're dancing? Do you feel like there's this divine connection happening when you're moving?
Yeah, lots of times what I do, the 4th sacred law of sexual enlightenment is the invitation. And I refer to this in the book too, that we can practice the invitation, not just in sexual energy. That's the invitation of the lover essence of God source, whatever that means to you in physical experience. But we can also practice the invitation in everything. When we're meditating, when we're saying prayers, what if we just invite, come experience the beauty of, I'm looking out the window now at these beautiful giant cedar trees. I would come experience the beauty of these trees with me. Come experience the beauty of the birds singing with me. Inviting your divine team to experience a physical experience. When I'm on a dance floor, I love going to dance events where it's just freestyle dance, with tribal beat music. And when I start, I'm like, come and enjoy this dance with me. Use my body to experience the dance with me. And I surrender to the music, and I allow the music to dance me versus me dancing to the music. And then just, I just never know what movement's going to come, what thoughts, what awarenesses will come through me. That surrendering to the dance, surrendering to the music. And then from that place, we're an open vessel for the creativity, for the inspiration, for the information to flow through.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, this cold, you guys. I'm muting myself so I don't hack and cough. Jeez. I want to hear about your book, because your book is really, it just sounds so incredible. And so let's learn all about it.
All right. Well, it's called The 4 Sacred Laws of Sexual Enlightenment. The information started coming through me. I believe it was 2013. It started as the 4 spiritual laws, and then I just liked the 4 sacred laws. And I call them laws, not because you must abide by them, but because it's guaranteed when you fully embody these 4 sacred laws, it will take you on a path of enlightenment with your sexual expression. It will open you to new awarenesses. I can't enlighten you, but this gives you a pathway, a guide to be on a journey of enlightenment for yourself, of who you are as a spiritual being inside a sexual body. So the first sacred law we spoke into is the gift, really recognizing that it is this beautiful gift of life. whether we're creating a new human life or just breathing new vitality of life through our body. And also the gift of the masculine and feminine essence that lives within each of us. As women, we have masculine essence as well as feminine, and it's to varying degrees, and men as well. And the masculine feminine essence with one another, that polarity between one another. Even if you're a same-sex couple, I love working with same-sex couples because I can feel the polarity. There's like, yeah, okay, you're definitely about this percentage feminine, you're about this percentage masculine, because you have to have that polarity for the intimacy, sexual intimacy, to be sparked. One couple I worked with, it was fascinating because they were really balanced and neutral, and you could feel that they just sort of went this way with one another. They both felt like they had equal balance of masculine and feminine, but the polarity was still matched. So honoring that masculine and feminine within you and with one another. And through my journey, I had a very lovely experience. I'm not polyamorous by nature. I call myself polyaffectionate. I'm really monogamous, but I still like the freedom of being able to hug people, give them a kiss on the cheek, share that affection. But I did have a polyamorous experience when I was living in California, when I was spending a lot of time there. And there were 3 men who were friends, and I was intimately involved with all 3. One first, and then his other 2 friends later, and never in the bed at the same time, but we were all very aware that they were my lovers, and it was overlapping. And after that experience, I had to step back, and I thought, wow, this is really unique. Each one of them brought a different element that was more dominant. And that's where I birthed what I call the 5 elements of sexual expression. And this is inside the chapter of the gift. One of them was very dominant in healing. He was a shaman and he was a healer. So the few times we were together, it was deliberately pouring healing energy into the other while sexually engaging. It was very powerful. Another was very dominant in his raw primal energy. Another was very dominant in his nurturing. I actually spent the most time with him because he became my lover for about 2 months, and he'd hold me and then be wrapped up, and I'd just fall asleep in his arms, and he'd give me 2-hour massages all the time. So there was the healer, the more primal expression, and the nurturer. And there had to be a really strong connection between all of us for this to happen. And then the element I brought, I realized, was the playfulness. So that was a big aha for me. I thought, when all these 5 elements are fully embodied in your sexual intimacy relationship, you feel so much more expressed. The playfulness, the deep connection, the nurturing, the healing, the primal expression. I love asking people sort of write down on a scale of 1 to 10 how expressed you are in each of these ones. And the one that's the lowest, give that expression. And most people, when they do this, the healing doesn't come out very strong. So it's so beautiful, because sacred sexuality is the merging of our primal sexual body with our divine spirit body, and really merging the two, because we were created this way. It is our divine design. And when we really embrace that and merge who we are as a sacred being with who we are as a sacred sexual being, it is very, very healing, very, very nurturing. So that's sort of the very short summary of the gift. The second sacred law is forgiveness. Forgiving everyone from your past, making peace with everyone from your past, so you can live fully in the present. And I know that's easier said than done if you experience sexual abuse, if you were raped. Again, on my website, Jaitara.com, if you go to store, you don't have to opt in for this. It's just right there. You just hit the play button, and it guides you through a 9-minute forgiveness process where it helps you completely shift your perspective of your abuser enough to forgive them. That doesn't mean they get off with what they did. It doesn't mean that you condone it. They still have to take energetic responsibility somehow, whether it's done through karma or whether they end up, being put away for it, however it turns out. But what it does, it frees you from the energetic connection to them. It releases you from the energetic connection to them and to that experience. So forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. And responsibility is the third sacred law that we could talk about for hours, because there's many, many, many layers. Responsibility of communication, responsibility of power. If you are someone who's a facilitator of healing, we have a responsibility not to abuse that power. I took a vow when I got certified in breathwork that I will never have an intimate relationship with a breathwork client, because I have to enter into the mother energy, and I'm taking through a very vulnerable space. If I feel attracted to someone who's attracted to me, we have a choice. We date or we become client and practitioner. You can't do the both. And if we've already been client and practitioner and there's an attraction, wait an entire year. And if the interest is still then we can proceed. So we really have a responsibility of our own power, however that shows up in the situation. Responsibility of media, taking responsibility for our own healing. The one I'm most passionate about is the responsibility that we have as a global family toward how we're communicating to our youth about sexuality. In the West, we're really outdated. Our sex ed is a biology lesson, and that biology lesson isn't even complete. And then fear is often injected, just don't have sex, practice abstinence. Well, they're raging hormones of teenagers. So what's happening, what's showing up, because now we have the internet, is teens are turning to porn for sex ed. And that's really dangerous because we know what they're seeing in porn is fantasy entertainment. It's not how women want to be talked to or treated, or the large majority of it. It's not a good source of education at all. And I know when I was a girl, I turned to the boys because I just figured they knew what to do. I wanted them to tell me what to do. Just like on the dance floor, if you have a strong feminine essence, you want the man to take the lead. It's just our nature. Mm-hmm. So we have a huge responsibility to seriously upgrade our sex ed in the schools. Imagine if the youth were taught the sacredness of sexuality, the beauty of it, the pleasure of it, the responsibility of it, how to consciously communicate with one another, how to really honor your own boundaries and the boundaries of one another, how to fully honor and respect your body and that of others. And teach girls to understand and figure out their own bodies. So when they are ready to be with someone else, they know how to guide them on what they like, how they want to be touched, because men want to be, they want us to guide them. Every woman's body's different. They love it when a woman is able to speak up and ask for what they want and say, yeah, this is how I like it. This is what I like, and give them that guidance. Wow. Because they do want to be there for us. And that's another challenge that happens very commonly with women is the struggle to speak up and ask for what you want in the bedroom. And that shows up in other areas of life. I was in my 40s before I learned how to ask for what I want. And it didn't only show up in the bedroom, it showed up professionally as well, in all areas of my life.
Well, and don't you think that comes from shame? I mean, there's so much shame in sexuality. And so to even talk about it or to want something from it is a difficult.
Partly. It's also because as women, we're natural nurturers. So if we're with someone we love, we don't want to correct them or re-guide them because we want them to believe that they're doing a good job and that they're a good lover. We don't want to hurt their ego. I know for me, that happened a lot. I didn't want to correct him because I didn't want to think he wasn't getting it right, even when he wasn't getting it right.
Yeah.
So I stayed silent because I wanted him to feel good about himself, even though it was at the compromise of my own pleasure.
Yeah.
So that's very common as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The fourth sacred law is the invitation, which I spoke into, inviting the lover essence of God's source into your sexual experience. I realized years ago the reason some people have a block with including God in their sexuality is because many people think of God as Father God or Mother Father God, and we don't want to invite our parents in the bedroom. That's not in alignment. But, the essence of God's source comes in all relationships, the brother, the sister, the friend, and the lover. So just, imagine going in your own little virtual reality. What does the lover essence of God's source feel like to me? Are they masculine? Are they feminine? What would it feel like to be touched from them, to be in their presence? And I've been single for a while now, mostly celibate, and until I meet who I'm sure is out there, my next life partner. And so in the meantime, I have a beautiful, beautiful solo practice where I connect with my heart first, and I connect with my love, and I feel the presence of this beautiful divine masculine energy and essence with me. I feel what it feels like if they were to touch me, what it feels like if they were to hold me, and I invite their presence into the sexual experience. Then as a solo practice, it's not just a physical release. Masturbation is the stroking for physical release. It's much more than that. It's physically expansive, but it's also spiritually and emotionally very, very fulfilling. If you're in a relationship and when you're with your beloved, then just by connecting with the love and just taking time, excuse me, just taking time to sit heart to heart opposite them and gazing into one another's. If you gaze through the left eye, you can see deeper into the soul. And to gaze left eye to left eye, and just take time to synchronize your breath and just really, without words, connect and see this beautiful divine being, this reflection of divinity that's sitting opposite you, and see the divinity in your partner, in one another, and really connect fully with that before you start to engage in the physical aspect of sex. You know, so you're inviting the divine into the experience through one another, through the reflection of one another.
It's so beautiful. What do you want to say about Tantra? I feel like I want to ask you about that right now.
Yeah, whoever you ask about Tantra, myself included, you're going to get a different definition. And really, you can never learn everything there is to learn, because it's not like a class you take and now you know it. It's a lifestyle. It's a journey. In the West, what we've become really familiar with Tantra in the West, most people hear Tantra, they just assume it's about sex. Tantric sexuality is an aspect of sexuality. It's in the West, it's properly defined as neo-tantra, which is the merging of spirituality with sexuality, which is basically what sacred sexuality is. I like to use the word sacred sexuality because that gives it a clearer definition than neo-tantra, because people are like, what is that?
Yeah, true.
Right. So, but Tantra, you know, how one of my mentors explained Tantra to me, which is really beautiful, Jeffrey Armstrong. I remember years ago, I was at his place. You know, he's a expert on Vedic teachings, and I don't even remember what he was teaching, but it was really engaging. There was about 30 of us in his home for this teaching, and he took a 10-minute bathroom break, and he said, make sure you stay in silence. He said, because you don't want to disrupt the energy that we built. And it was just such a juicy teaching. You could feel the energy lingering in the air, holding on to what he just said and the anticipation of what's coming next. And he said, you feel that energy right now, that connection of what just happened with what's coming next and the tension of that? That's Tantra. The English word tension comes from the word Tantra. So imagine you've got this over here and this over here, and you're exploring everything between those two polarities, between those energy points, and stretching it as far as you can without breaking the connection and exploring what's there. That's Tantra. So it can be your connection with the divine. A tantric practice can be purely spiritual, just the upper chakras. It can be your connection with the trees. It's the complete awareness of how your energy is impacting the energy of those around you and in your environment. How the energy of what's happening now is impacting the next moment that unfolds. The exploration between sexuality, spirituality. It can include the energetic connection, that relationship that you have with money. It can really, Tantra is the weaving of energy, the exploration of the energy between 2 points. There's actually parts of India where they explore what's known as Black Tantra, which is sort of like black magic that you want to stay away from, where they really dive into the dark shadow end of the energetic exploration. So it's to sum it up shortly, it's the weaving of energy and all the multiple possibilities of that.
Oh, well,
I've got the masculine and the feminine, you know, the weaving of the polarities and really diving in deep the exploration of the masculine and feminine.
Yeah, I've got a juicy quote for you that I wanted to share that like literally is exactly what you're saying. So I love it. But I'm a pretty big Osho nerd.
I love Osho.
He's a little controversial, but I love him anyways. And so his book on Tantra is so beautiful, I think. And but there's a quote from there that really I had pulled it up to share today because of our topic.
Okay.
But literally just is so great, so perfect. Osho says, the staircase has 2 ends. On one end, it is the lowest. On another end, it is the highest. So Tantra and yoga are not opposites. They're complementary. Yoga is the primary, the basic, from where you have to start, but then one should not cling. A moment comes when one has to transcend yoga and move into Tantra. And finally, you have to leave the whole staircase, yoga and Tantra both. Alone in yourself, deep in rest, one forgets everything.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
Isn't it? And it's like exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. It's that merging. I'm trying to think of, you know, it's really what you just said, but it's a merging of those opposite
Yeah.
points. So really, it's the merging of it's the release of polarization is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an ongoing journey. There's no figuring it out and it's done. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like life is ongoing exploration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now I want to talk about, I of course went and trolled your website because I had to go and see what was going on. And I'm obsessed, by the way, with your spiral art is so incredible on here, by the way. It's so amazing. And everybody, Jaitara's website is up on the screen right now and in the show notes. But you have this module that's a video program called Deep Connection Mastery. And I wondered if you wanted to share that, because I feel like that's a really accessible thing for a
Yeah.
lot of folks who might be listening right now.
Yes, it's a pre-recorded video series that I created. And, you know, it's designed for anyone who's tired of not having the deep spiritual connection they desire in sexual intimacy, to experience that deep connection with or without a partner. So there's 6 different modules, as well as what I call the 5 pillars of deep connection. And right now it's only selling, and I was originally going to price it at $444. But just because we're in COVID, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave it at half of that at $222, just to help support people as we go through COVID. And it's a beautiful, you just take yourself through it at your own pace. And if you're in that, if you've purchased it, you have any questions, I'm always available through email. I really love to connect with people, even if you just bought a pre-recorded product like that. You know, just know that if you do that, just shoot me an email if you have a question or something, because I love to connect with people directly.
What's your favorite moment of the work that you've done all this time?
What's my what?
Your favorite moment?
Oh,
I know, it's like really, I just am so curious.
my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Narrowing it down to one moment. I don't know if I can put it to one, because there's multiple that are so good. I mean, I love working with couples. I love when I do a couple session, I just teach them how to be present, teaching that tantric sexuality, the really connecting more depth in their eyes, their breath, and sharing vocally, that where they discover and reveal things about themselves that they didn't even know before, no matter how long they've been together. And teaching the masculine the real true meaning of taking his time as he touches and explores her body. So I love that. Every couple session I've done is like, whew. But I also love, you know, being in a workshop space, being in a retreat. I love being in person. You know, I can't wait till I can do more in-person stuff. The online is beautiful too. I love that. But I love being in a room with women where we're dancing together, when it's just the sisters in the circle, the inhibitions that open up, you know, sharing that space, diving deep, crying together, dancing together, connecting with one another, holding one another up as sisters. It's just so beautiful. I love doing that. So I can't put it down to one experience, because there's so many dimensions to it.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally understand, but I asked anyways. So, tell me what's up for you, like, presently. I mean, it sounds like you're getting ready to launch a whole new website and a new part of your work, but
Yes, I will be diving in now that I'm clear that Feminine Artistry is an academy and I've got my faculty. So starting, well, next week, I may not put too much energy in it next week. I live in Canada, in Vancouver, BC, and I just saw the weather report, and next week's going to be really nice high temperatures with a lot of sun, and I've only had about 3 beach days this summer. So,
gosh, yeah.
so next week I may be at the beach. But after that, once the temperatures start to drop, which will be in the next few weeks, I'll be devoting a lot of energy to get Feminine Artistry up as quick as possible. In the meantime, Jaitara.com has the information there. So that's my big birthing that I'm doing right now, is just getting Feminine Artistry up with the different sections. And I didn't realize what an introvert I was. I always saw myself as an extrovert because of how I love to be out there and I'm social and uninhibited on the dance floor. But during COVID, this quarantine time, I really loved it. I really love the cocooning. And I got to a point where I've loved it so much, I'm having to make myself get out there and get on video more. So thank you for asking to interview me. And it's been, and I put out the intention I'm finding during this time that we're going through right now, as much as there's a lot of contraction going on, I'm also feeling the magical side of it. I feel our light frequency is raising to the point that the darkness can't hide anymore. And it started with the Me Too movement. It became exposed. Then Black Lives Matter, stuff's getting exposed. It's been there all along, but we're just seeing it in our face in a much bigger way. People are finally talking about the huge issue of child sex trafficking. It's finally becoming a big topic of discussion. So I feel we're in a magical time with that. I forget how I got on that topic, but where I was going, I just lost my train of thought.
We're reading my telepathic energy, probably. We're probably having a whole.
Yeah. So, oh yes, I know what it was. I put out the intention that I want to start speaking a lot more and speaking into my work. And suddenly, just this past month, I've had a whole slew of requests to speak on other people's platforms. So they're still coming out. I just did Guidely on Saturday, where it was a whole day of live workshops. I was one of the mentors with Deepak Chopra as the keynote, and so I'm going to be a long-term mentor now on Guidely. There's another platform where I have to record a video where they want me on. So just suddenly all these, so I'm being forced now to get out and get myself on video. And so something I'm really passionate about doing, and I'll be starting up very soon, is doing what we're doing here too, having split screen, bringing people on to interview them and have them as guests, and just start having conversations with people. Yeah, it's huge for me what's happening with child sex trafficking. That's the big why. I'm also devoted to putting a percentage of whatever comes into feminine artistry into saving the children that are going through that. For the listeners, I don't know if you're aware, but child sex trafficking is the fastest growing business in crime. There's more sex slaves on the planet now than ever before. And this isn't just third world countries, which is horrific, but it's happening in our own backyard. Children are being kidnapped and as young as a toddler age to be sex trafficking victims. You know, it's pretty horrific when you think about it. And because the demand for younger and younger is getting higher. So somehow we as a global society created this.
Yeah.
By chance, you know, so there's been a lot of exploitation. We've been going through a time where sex is taboo. We don't talk about it, or we see it exploited. Then that has to stop. Having conversations like this, talking about it realistically, talking about the truth of it, of the sacredness of it. And I believe that what we can do, well, for one, donate to any really good organization who's really doing something to put a stop to the child sex trafficking. And another thing we can do on an energetic level, right now, today, there are babies being born. And if we don't create a shift globally, some of these babies are not only going to grow up to be victims, but they're going to grow up to be the perpetrators. Because all abusers were at one time this beautiful, innocent baby being born into the world. So what can we do energetically to create a planet where this frequency, whether we're not in some frequency, that this is even a reality? And so that's the big why for me behind the sacred sexuality. Start having a new conversation about this, you know, just start merging the truth of who we are as sacred beings and sexual beings. You know, serious upgrade on our sex ed, and you know, until the schools catch up, to start having the conversation. You know, if you have teenagers and they find it weird and uncomfortable to talk about sex with you because you're the parents, find friends or aunties, somebody to have this conscious conversation with them, because it's having a serious impact that is not good, and we have the power to create a shift. You know, thousands of years ago, the guilt and shame was afflicted upon us around our sexual energy, and how better to control the society than to make us feel shameful and judgmental toward the very energy that creates us and the very energy we can't resist. You know, but we're in a different time now. We're in a different time where we're waking up and we recognize the beauty, that this is such a beautiful aspect. It's the energy that creates us. It's our bodies are perfect, beautiful, miracle, divine design, created this way for a reason. So let's start stepping into the truth of that and speaking into it so that the children can grow up in a much safer world.
That's so beautifully articulated. I mean, it just
Thank
really
you.
does. It encompasses the message right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with the collective trauma that's rising up to being released from Gaia herself.
Yeah.
You know, I've spoken many times about the power of forgiveness practice, and so I love that you also are speaking that those words and that practice available to people.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you feel can support everyone in healing? Because they may not even know their part, you know, they may not even understand, you know, no matter what level of experience. I posted something on social media a few weeks ago about working for Victoria's Secret for almost a decade. That was my life. It's limited brands, it's interconnected with some of what's happening in the public eye right now. And it was an abusive work environment at the time.
Oh, no.
So when I look back at this 1,000 women who were all running stores for this particular brand, and I was one of them, and what we were pushed to do and who we were pushed to be and what we were forced to wear and experience and all those things. And, you know, that's my part. So everyone has a part in what is collectively being released now. And so my question for you is, what does that support look like? Like, what do you think is the most important part for all of us to come together and heal?
Thank you for speaking into that, because, you know, forgiveness of self is the big one. You know, that's really important. You know, that's actually the hardest one to do. So just, you know, giving yourself a break, recognizing that you're human. And if I can be so blunt to say, we all fuck up along the way. You know, we're all figuring it out as we go. When we first came into these bodies, we were a perfect, divine, beautiful infant. And anyone who looked at us had no question that we deserve all the beauty, all the love, all the goodness the universe could possibly answer. Well, nothing's changed. We're still that worthy. It's just life experience happens. We all go through shit. We all go through stuff, and some of it's ugly, but we're still that beautiful divine being having a human experience. We're just figuring it out along the way. So the key is to take your experiences and transform it into wisdom. And free yourself of that self-judgment. It's how we move through it, not the fact that what we did or how it happened, but how we move through and come out the other side. There was something else I wanted to speak into that. Yeah, just what we're going through right now on a global scale. I'm finding it really interesting observing. If you're feeling really triggered, if you find yourself getting caught up in the chaos and the noise, like pointing fingers, why do those people wear a mask in the car? You should wear a mask. I'll never wear. We get caught up in these conflicts, and it's just sucking up our energy and our time. Is just, why do we care if someone wants to wear a mask in their car? Let them wear a mask in their car. What's it got to do with you? You know, I'm sure they've got their own reasons for whatever it is. They seem at peace with it. So I've noticed that's been one of the things I see a lot. And even myself, I got caught in, like, why are they wearing a mask in the car?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why do I care? If it's their choice, they seem to be at peace with it. So just notice if that's happening, if you're getting triggered and you're getting in the opposition of pointing, because what that's doing, that's creating separation. And even I've participated. I've caught myself participating in the separation, you know, because my point of view may be different from their point of view. And at a time like this, there's going to be so many different points of views. We're never all going to agree. So let's just accept that we've all got different points of views and stop trying to push yours. I made that mistake when this started happening. Like, why are you thinking that way? But in trying to reason with people, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm backing off. I'm not going to do that anymore. That's not my place. Let's just accept we have different points of view without trying to make the other person wrong, without calling them stupid or an idiot. I see so much of that. And let's just be kind and compassionate and accepting. This is not an easy time for any of us. No pandemic is easy, no matter what decision is made. Whether we wear a mask or don't, whether we social distance or not, there's not a perfect answer. There's no ideal situation. No matter what decision is made, it's not going to be ideal. We're all figuring it out, doing the best we can. So if you feel yourself getting triggered a lot, I invite you to look inside and ask, why am I getting triggered right now? What's inside me that I have unresolved that I need to make peace with? The fact that I'm going into reactivity. I love the words of Don Miguel Ruiz, who I'm blessed to say is a dear friend of mine. And he's one of his is, don't take anything personally. You know, like other people's reality is their reality. Yours is yours. Just be at peace with yourself. And I'm finding those who are moving through this more gracefully. I've done so much healing work and inner work so I can do the work that I do now. So it's actually been a very relaxed time, other than the few little times I've caught myself getting caught up in the drama. But generally speaking, I've actually really enjoyed it. And I haven't shared that very much because I know there's some people that are hating it.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed the quietness. I've enjoyed the less busyness. I've enjoyed that nature is healing, that the ozone layer has been healing because there's been less pollution from less driving. There's a lot of things about this that I've enjoyed. I really needed some time off, and I didn't know how much until I was forced to take time off. And so if you're finding yourself getting triggered a lot, embrace it as a beautiful opportunity to say, okay, what's still unresolved in me that I need to look at, that I need to heal, that I need to make peace with? Because when we're able to be the calm in the chaos, the eye of the storm, all this chaos going on in the world, when we're able to sit in it with calmness and just look around as the observer versus the reactor, and just be in our stillness. All we can do is impact our own world and those who we have immediate contact with. And when we go to that place of stillness, the calm and the chaos, answers come so much more clearly. Creativity is birth. Inspiration happens. Those I'm witnessing who are able to be that calm in the chaos right now, they're creating such beautiful new things are unfolding right now in their lives. So yeah, just protect yourself and be aware. Don't get caught up in the drama, because it's all around you. You are a powerful creator. You have that ability to be. Just take a few breaths. And if you feel yourself getting triggered in reactivity, ask yourself, okay, what do I need to look at here? So I can come back into center.
So
You know,
beautiful.
the craziness has always been here. It's just way more in our face right now, but the beauty's always been here. I've got this beautiful cedar tree I wake up to every day. I've got ducks in a duck pond off my backyard I get to listen to every day. You know, like, look around the beauty. I took this picture. Maybe I can find it on my phone the other day. I was outside and I found this little dandelion this big. It was only partially bloomed. And I thought, wow, you know, so many of us, we walk past something like that and we don't even see it. So I zoomed in really close and took a picture of it.
Oh, that's so pretty.
So, you know, just beauty is in our face like that. The reality is it was this big, but this beauty like that, it's around us all the time. So really tap into the beauty and see that there's so much of it. The beauty of one another. Smile at people as you see them and pass by them, and see the beauty of their smile and focus on that. We're all going to get distracted sometimes. It's kind of hard not to, but pull yourself back into center and focus. What we focus on expands. Focus on the beauty. Focus on the love.
God, that's so beautiful. What a lovely afternoon. I'm so happy to come on the show.
Thank you.
So much to share, and I'm so related, you know, just in connecting with you, and then, you know, seeing your body of work and then talking to you today. I mean, you just really are such a gift, and you have so much beautiful, like,
thank you.
You know, from one tantric yogini to another, like, just happy, and I love it. It's so beautiful. So thank you. And thank you for the comments as well. Christine said she just signed up for your newsletter, and she's
thank you. Thank you. I'm not seeing the comments for some reason. It's not showing up here. So
yeah, our little software. It's up on the top right corner. You could see maybe.
Oh, okay. Let me click on, there's people. There we go. Hello, Christine. Thank you so much. I'm honored to connect with you.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's actually been on the show before, so I'm glad you're watching, Christine. And we love you, Christine. And yeah, she's quite a beautiful, wonderful energy as well. So I think it's wonderful. So yeah, I just really love having you on. Time flies when we're in here. And it's just so amazing. And before we get to some parting words, I do want to share with everyone that Jaitara is going to be part of our November Awakening event, which I'm really excited about.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm so happy you're going to be a part of that. And if you have not yet registered, it's free. And you just go to oneheartoneearth.net. So we're just sort of beginning that journey to prepare for November, but it's going to be a powerful event. And all of Jaitara's information is in the show notes. They're also up on the screen. If you are listening later on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, Alexa, iListen, I don't even know. I think that's everywhere. But if you are listening later, it'll be in the show notes on your app as well, on your phone. So, but Jaitara, any parting words of wisdom for us or anything else I'd like to say?
I just took off my glasses because I want to look right in the camera so I can connect with people. You're a little blurry to me right now because it's tiny, but I guess just remember who you really are, that you are love. You are the divine expressing here in human form. And just like everything else in life, what we're going through right now, this too shall pass. And I am confident that what's going to be unfold and how we're going to come out on the side is going to be truly beautiful. Again, just focus on the beauty, focus on the love, and just keep pulling yourself back to that. Much love.
So much love to you, Jaitara, Jade, everybody. I just love you. Thank you for coming on. I hope you come back. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. And everybody who's watched, thank you for being such a great audience. And if you're watching the replay later, you can still comment and share your questions, and we'll check in with them on the YouTube channel or on Twitter. And thank you, Jaitara. It's really
thank you, my love. Thank you. My honor. My honor.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.